a story about my son. He's now 9, almost 10. And this happened when he was just barely 2. So as you can see, he was this very cute little boy, barely 2. And it was our first trip as a family to go to the beach here in The Hague, in Scheveningen. And we happened to cross, there was this big field where they put out spring cushions and also trampolines for children. So you can just imagine how that was. It's a play field, it was warm, sunny day. And here in the Netherlands, when it's warm, people just flock to the beach because we have basically, 20 days in a year where it's warm. So I can vividly recall, he was this very small young boy. And all around him, kids were just jumping and up and down, and they were just happy. And my daughter, who was a year older, she was just went right in, jumping, and she was oblivious to the world. Whereas my son, and I noticed it, he didn't go in. And what he did was, he went to the side of the trampoline, and he was looking, he was looking at the kids jumping up and down, and was looking all around him, and then he looked like that. And I was at the side, and me and my husband here were like, let's watch what he's doing. And he just kept on looking at that, and then looking again up, and then looking down again. And I knew what he was looking at. He was looking at the springs. As an educator, these are one of the moments that I cherish most when I see it with children. So it was really fascinating to see it with my own child. And he was barely 2. So it was even more like, okay, how fascinating it was for him. So he started looking, and I think he was like that for 5 minutes. Just imagine that. When most kids would just go to a trampoline, he was just there 5 minutes looking up, looking down, and then he started going in. So he went up, jumped, probably 1 or 2 times, and then looked back down again. He was holding on to the trampoline, to the side of the trampoline, and he was mesmerized. My daughter, like what I said, she was oblivious to the world. She was just happy and as a bee and jumping up and down. Whereas my son was there by the trampoline, the side of the trampoline, would jump 1, 2, 3 times, look to the springs again, and then jump again. And then finally, after probably 10 minutes, he just started jumping. But that 10 minutes for me was very crucial. That 10 minutes for me opened my eyes as to how the wonders of creativity can be a tool to understand and connect us to the world. And that also spurred in me I'm a child development specialist. So for me it was like, I was really seeing it in action, and it's with my child. But to see it as to someone that young, I was like, I need to learn more. I need to understand things more. So it got me into looking at how to think. Partner Eleonora, and we provide trainings and consultations for entrepreneurs, creatives, and innovators who are transforming their businesses into movements. And what I realized, when working not just as an educator, but also as a trainer, what I realized is creativity is that tool. It's that tool that we can tap into. However, that tool sometimes is not something that we easily can tap in. And with this, I would ask, who among here would say you're creative? Yes. Who here would say you were more creative than when you were children? And this is, these questions are fascinating for me. I did read about the George Land's creativity test. This was done way a long time ago in 1968. Wherein he tried to look at children aged 3 to 5 and gave a series of tests, which are the same tests that they use for NASA, screening people in NASA. And then it was a longitudinal study, again at 10 years of age, looking at that, and then when they were 15, again the same thing. And the result was, it was declining. When they were younger, up until when they were adults, the test showed that there was a decline in the creativity. There was a decline in the results. And they even gave this same test to 280,000 adults. And the creativity level was just 2%. And that was in 1968. I don't know, I was trying to figure out if there are current details, if they did the same test nowadays, but just imagine that. How crucial creativity is, especially for entrepreneurship, in business, in professional life, and yet this is what's happening. This is reality. And when I was thinking about creativity, I was thinking of, okay, how is it? Where do we address this issue? How can we make it as a practice to build this mindset, to build this habit for our children, for ourselves? One of the things that I looked at is, okay, what are the stages? So, remembering what my son did, he had a preparation. He saw a problem and he was trying to look at that problem. So that was the preparation part. And then came the incubation, wherein he was trying to look at, what's going on here? Trying to make sense of it all, trying to let it sink in. So that's the incubation. And then you have the light bulb moment, your illumination. And you say, oh, this is why how it happens. How I wish my son could say things during that period so I could have asked him. But it was nice to see that aha moment wherein he just finally get it. And then the last part is verification. When you say, oh, I have this idea, I've tried it, and it works. So this 4 stages for me it's very often, it's common. When we get into a problem, which is what creativity is, addressing a specific problem, how we're faced with it is we're immediately put to the stress of, oh, we need to find solutions. Isn't it? When you have a problem, your go-to mentality would be, oh, I need to solve this. I need to just be able to sit down and then just get on with it. But this is also where I was thinking, no, maybe there is something that we can do, something different. Because we've been trying the same thing, trying that hustle of, oh, you have a problem, just solve it immediately, and then that will be it. So what I was thinking was, how can we train our brain? How can we be more creative? And Dr. Shelley Carson said, and this is what I like, and I'll quote her, the first and arguably most important strategy for thinking and acting creatively is to develop your ability to absorb information non-judgmentally. Sometimes we just, end to the absorb information, period. But the last word that she added was for me, wow, the non-judgmentally. How can I bring out a great idea, a brilliant idea, and not to have that thinking of, oh, am I doing it right? Or am I doing it wrong? Are my solutions right? Are my solutions wrong? To stop first, and say, I don't have to put in a notion of right or wrong to what I'm doing, but just to, again, the process of incubation, just let it sink in. And this for me is how it is, that incubation process. And probably my appeal to incubation came as a personal experience as well. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And everything stopped for me. And that was my incubation period. That was when I had to sit still, just be. And this for me is a very crucial part. And still, I've gone through treatments, I've gone through the whole lot. I wouldn't even count the number of pokes and injections that I've had. But it made me realize the incubation period is something that we've ignored for a very long time, especially for us women, because we were taught to multitask, to do as many things as we can, like we're an octopus, juggling a lot of balls and trying not to make them all fall down. And this is where my message is all about, Let's look at incubation as a process to invite more in our lives, something that we can embrace. That whenever that we're faced with something that is new, that is considered to be a problem, or is something that is challenging, that we tell ourselves it's okay to give pause. It's okay to just breathe. You know, it's okay to not judge yourself for, oh, I'm not being productive. And lastly, that it's okay, you know, to just take it all in and see where it goes.